My beloved child, from the very moment you opened your eyes this morning, I was already there, waiting for you in a gentle stillness that only the soul can hear. I know your heart is tired. I know your inner places are filled with nameless spaces. And I know you have walked through long days no one ever witnessed. That is why today I do not begin with a command, but with an invitation soft enough not to frighten you, yet strong enough to stir the deepest part of who you are. I invite you into the encounter that is drawing near a place without noise, without fear, without the unspoken questions you have carried for so long. This is not a meeting for judgment. It is a meeting for healing. Not a moment for you to prove anything, but a moment for you to be loved again down to your roots. I invite you not because you are strong, but because you are weary. I hear your sigh even when you never speak it. I see the nights you lie still, eyes open but heart drifting into places no one else knows. And I want you to understand that nothing within you pushes me away. It is these very broken pieces, these weary places, that draw me closer. I do not come to remind you of your mistakes. I come to touch the parts of you that you have been running from. I know there are wounds you cannot bear to open because you fear they will break you completely. But my child, in my hands, nothing breaks without being healed. Nothing is lost without being found. Nothing dark remains without being brought back to light. You do not need to prepare yourself or pretend to be fine. You only need to come with all the truth inside you. I invite you into the encounter that is drawing near a place without noise, without fear, without the unspoken questions you have carried for so long. This is not a meeting for judgment. It is a meeting for healing. Not a moment for you to prove anything, but a moment for you to be loved again down to your roots. I invite you not because you are strong, but because you are weary. I hear your sigh even when you never speak it. I do not draw you close to condemn you. I draw you close to heal you. You have endured enough gazes that made you shrink. Now let me look at you with eyes that soften your soul. My child, I know there are things you have held on to not because you wanted them, but because they were familiar. Familiar to carry, familiar to endure, familiar to survive with chains so invisible you began to believe they were part of you. I know there are old emotions circling like a loop, making you think something in you is broken. But today I come to say no chain is strong enough to bind a soul I have touched. Those chains do not speak of your worth, they only speak of how long you have lived without the safety you were created for. And I do not blame you for that. I only ask you to extend your hand not so I can pull harshly, but so I can untangle each loop, each layer, each heavy piece you have worn like armor. Let me do this for you gently but surely, not rushed, yet never stopping. What I am about to do in you will not come through pressure. I am not telling you to be strong, try harder, or get over it quickly. I know those are not the words you need. You need space to breathe. You need arms to lean on. You need presence to know you are not wandering without direction. Every transformation I am preparing will come from abiding in peace, abiding in love, abiding in my truth. True change does not come from striving. It comes from dwelling in the right love. The encounter I am inviting you into is not a sudden event. It has been prepared long before you ever found words for your pain. I have been waiting for you here, in this season, in this moment, like a father waiting for a child who has been gone too long, not to ask, "Why did you go so far?" but to hold you as though you had never left. The healing I will bring is not on the surface. It is healing that begins from the roots, from the places you believed no one could ever see. This is not a one-time invitation. It is an invitation into a journey where I walk beside you step by step. Listen to me deeply with the heart that is softening within you. The encounter I invite you into is the beginning of a new light. A light that does not glare, does not force, does not accuse, but heals. restores, and brings you back to yourself. It is the light that rekindles a faith you thought had died. From here on, you will feel peace in places that once made you tremble. You will feel lightness in the things that once weighed heavily on you. You will hear me more clearly because your heart is becoming still, not because you are better, but because you have stepped into my breath. This encounter is not the destination. It is the doorway into a lifelong transition of light, peace, and unchanging love. My beloved child, I know there are things you have carried for so long that you began to believe they were part of you. Expectations no one ever spoke but you still shouldered. Heavy words no one apologized for but you tried to forget. Responsibilities that were never yours to bear. Yet you held on to them because you feared that letting go would make you a burden to someone else. Today I want to tell you plainly, not a single chain on you was placed there by me. I did not design you to carry pain alone. I did not create you to endure pressure in silence. I did not call you to live under the weight of things that do not belong to your soul. I want you to learn to release the burdens you accepted without even realizing it. Because if your hands remain full, how can you receive what I am preparing for you? There are things you cling to, not because they are alive, but because you fear the emptiness that might follow if you let them go. But my child, not everything that lingers is good. Some relationships have finished their season. Some roles have fulfilled their purpose. Some ways of thinking have reached their end. Some places are no longer safe ground for your soul. I want to open your eyes to see that letting go is not failure. It is honoring the process I am working in you. When something has reached the end of its season, holding on to it only weighs down your heart and clouds your vision. You are not wrong for feeling tired. You have simply reached a point of transition. I know there are corners in your soul you have not allowed anyone to touch. Places even you avoid. Those dark corners do not frighten me, they draw me near. That is where the memories you do not dare mention are hiding. That is where old wounds still ache when you hear a familiar phrase. That is where you think I do not see. Though I have seen it all along. And I do not come to point out your faults. I come to bring light. Not a harsh light that blinds you, but a gentle flame that melts the fog inside. You do not need to fix yourself first for me to love you. You only need to be honest so I can touch what is real. There are days you ask, how can I heal myself when I am already exhausted? And I answer with the fullness of love, you do not need to heal yourself. Self-healing is the pressure of those who believe they must be perfect. But I did not call you to be perfect. I called you to belong. You do not need to run everywhere searching for solutions. You do not need to grip everything tightly to stay balanced. You only need to sit with me and let me do the part you cannot do. Healing is not you forcing yourself to be whole. Healing is what I do in you when you rest in me. You are not the supervisor of the process. You are the one being loved through it. One of the things I want to teach you in this season is to listen. Not listening to perform, but listening to know that I am here. My voice is not loud. It moves like a soft breeze through branches. You only hear it when your heart finds stillness. But I do not demand that you become still through force. I quiet your heart through my presence. When you sit down, when you place your hand over your chest, when you breathe deeply, when you surrender to the silence, those are the moments when you hear most clearly, not with your ears, but with a knowing as deep as water in an ancient well. My child, I do not want to merely bandage your scratches. I want to reach the place where your pain began, not to make you relive it, but so you no longer live by the reactions formed around that pain. You have spent years responding not from your true self, but from the wounds inside you. You fear abandonment not because someone is leaving you now, but because an old memory was never healed. You fear failure not because you are weak, but because once you were punished in fear. You fear love not because you lack the capacity, but because you once loved in an unsafe place. I want to touch those roots, so that you can live from your true essence, not from the echoes of old pain. I do not break through, I melt the ice. And finally, I want you to know that the healing I am giving you is not distant, not difficult, not vague. It is happening right now in every breath you release, in every new awareness you gain, in every layer of heaviness you have just set down. Healing is not a sudden miracle. It is a steady stream flowing through the desert you did not realize you were crossing. I am working even if you cannot see it. I am changing you even if you cannot yet feel it fully. Little by little, so gently, so deeply, so truly. And when you look back, you will understand this is the season where you no longer needed to keep surviving, but the season where you began to live again. My child, I know there are moments in your heart when you want to change quickly, to become strong instantly, to be different right away. But I want to teach you this with gentleness. Everything truly lasting begins with small steps. Not leaps, but steps. Not breakthroughs to impress others, but steady steps that allow you to be healed. I lead you by teaching you to notice the small things, the way you breathe when anxiety rises, the way your heart tightens when old memories return, the way your hands tremble slightly when you fear something might repeat. These little details are signals for me to touch. I do not require you to be strong before I come. I come so that you may have the strength to walk. And as you keep walking step by small step, you will see yourself going farther than you ever imagined. Part of the journey I am teaching you is learning to quiet your heart each day. Not a stillness forced by pressure, but a stillness born from knowing that I am truly holding your hand. When you begin a new morning, give yourself one tiny moment to whisper within, "You are here." You will feel your spirit soften. When anxiety rises, place your hand over your chest and remember your breath does not arrive by itself. I give it. When sadness comes, let your tears fall without shame. For I use tears like water that washes away the dust of yesterday. Stillness is not running from life. Stillness is remaining in me in the very midst of what you must face. You have lived so long with whispers that made you believe you were weak, insufficient, messy, or a failure. But now I am teaching you to step into truth. Truth is not criticism. Truth is the light that lets you see your path. Truth does not say, "You are terrible." Truth says, "This is the place where you hurt, and I touch it so you may be healed." When you hear a voice of condemnation, know that it is not me. When you hear the voice of exhaustion telling you to give up, know that it is not me. When you hear pressure urging you to hurry so you can feel valuable, know that it is not me. My voice is different, soft, yet unmistakable, gentle, yet deep, correcting, yet never shaming. My voice brings you back to the person you were created to be, not into the darkness of fear. And when you remain in the truth I speak, darkness loses its power to imprison you. I want you to understand that hearing my voice is not a privilege reserved for the spiritually extraordinary. It is the natural breath of those who are willing to be still. When you prepare a simple meal and suddenly feel peace, that is me. When you are sitting in a car and a thought appears in your mind that brings relief, that is me. When you are about to fall into an old reaction but a sudden softness stops you, that is me. I do not speak only in dramatic moments. I speak in every day you live. But to hear, you must believe that I delight in speaking to you, not avoiding you. Healing is like resetting the rhythm of your spiritual heart. Sometimes your rhythm becomes uneven because of wounds. Sometimes it becomes tangled by worry. Sometimes it becomes too fast from fear of past pain repeating itself. I come to place my hand on that rhythm and reset it. I walk with you through the things you believe are small: the time you sleep, the way you eat, the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat your tired body. I teach you when to stop, when to say no, and when to rise. Little by little, your rhythm returns to a new normal, a normal no longer controlled by fear or memory, but by the love I place within you. When that rhythm returns, you will feel yourself living lighter, brighter, and truer. I do not want you merely strong. I want you restored to yourself, to the you I created from the beginning. A you of gentleness, not rigidity. A you of courage, not withdrawal. A you of authenticity, not forced strength. A you of love, not fear of being hurt again. I am leading you home not to your past, but to your true self, the place where you do not fight to be loved, but where you are loved and therefore find the strength to fight. You do not need a role or a mask. I want you real, because I heal you in truth, not in pretending to be unbreakable. And now, I am preparing your heart for the encounter that is coming, not an encounter to fear, but an encounter that will change your life. The healing I am doing is to make you soft enough to receive, still enough to hear, clear enough to see, and trusting enough to step forward. You do not meet me in fear, you meet me in peace. You do not come as a failure, you come as a soul being brought back into rhythm. When that moment comes, I do not want you to hide, I want you to open your entire heart. And you will see, I do not come to accuse, I come to embrace. I do not come to judge, I come to transform. And you will recognize that everything you have walked through was leading you to this very moment, the moment of remaining in me and allowing me to lead you into true peace. My child, I want to lead you into a deeper place of stillness and healing, a place where you do not need to pretend to be strong. Do not need to tidy your emotions. Do not need to hold yourself together. This is the place where you can be so honest that even you are surprised by yourself. I see the empty spaces you are afraid to look at, the silent corners inside you that you believe would shatter if touched. Yet those very spaces are where I want to fill you first. You are not loved because you are strong, nor abandoned because you are weak. You are loved because I have chosen to remain with you. Every emptiness is an invitation for me to enter. Every crack is a doorway for my light to shine through. Every quiet place within you is soft soil for my love to take root. And when you allow me into those empty spaces, that is when I begin to transform your life from the inside out. You once believed your old wounds were things you had to hide, cover, or pretend never existed. But my child, I want you to understand something deeply. I do not erase the scar, I change its meaning. A wound that no longer hurts yet still bears a mark becomes the evidence of a miracle. It tells the story of how you survived, how you kept walking, how you did not stop in the darkest night. And each scar, when placed in my hands, becomes a witness to the love that carried you, not to shame you, but to remind you that you were never abandoned. What you once saw as disgrace will become the place of your greatest strength, because it is where my touch was clearest. There are pains that run deep, and there are pains that are very thin, so thin that a single word, a single look, a small shift is enough to touch them. I know those thin layers, those sensitive places, those easily bruised parts of you. I do not enter them with haste. I enter with the patience of one who knows exactly how the threads of your soul were woven. I listen to every breath, every heartbeat, every subtle change in the shade of your emotions. I touch at the moment you need it, at the point where you are weak, at the layer where you are trembling, not to expose, but to free, not to demand strength, but to release you from the fear of your own darkness. I heal layer by layer, softly and steadily, until you no longer fear opening your own heart. There are things you never say, not because you refuse to speak, but because you fear being misunderstood, or because you cannot find the right words. But I understand even the things you never express. I know the tears you swallow, the sadness you fold into your heart, the confusion you hide behind your smile. I heal the things you have never told anyone. I touch the thoughts you have never dared to speak. I soften the places you believed would stay hard forever. For I do not see only the outer version of you. I see the version of you in the innermost room of your soul, and I choose to love you from that deepest place first. I see how you try to stay strong so you won't become a burden to others. I see how you force yourself to be fine so things won't fall apart. I see how you swallow what you should have had permission to express. But my child, strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is not the absence of tears. Strength is not the absence of trembling. Strength is when you run to me in your weakest moments. Strength is when you know you cannot, and you let me do what you cannot. Strength is when you refuse to silence yourself in the dark. I do not want a version of you who is good at enduring. I want the honest you. I did not call you to be a stone wall. I called you to be a living heart, soft, capable of love, capable of tears, capable of blossoming. That is true strength. There is a kind of peace you have never fully tasted, not peace because everything is calm, but peace because you are exactly where I have placed you. Peace because you no longer have to manage everything alone. Peace because you know I handle the things you cannot. Peace because the future no longer feels like a fog, but a path I am clearing before you. Peace because you are no longer fighting the shadows of the past, but standing in the light of this very moment. I am widening your heart to receive this peace, a peace that does not come from control, but from surrender. Peace is not the absence of storms. Peace is me with you in the storm. And now, as your heart has softened, your breath grown lighter, and your eyes shone a little brighter, I want you to take one more step into the encounter waiting ahead. Not a long step, not a strong step, just one step guided by me. I am opening doors. One by one, I am clearing paths. Piece by piece, I am preparing your heart not only to be healed, but to dwell inside a transforming encounter. This is not pressure. This is a gentle invitation from the one who knew you before you were formed. Come a little closer, for I am right here waiting for you to open your heart wider so that I may pour out even more. I want you to feel this, not with your mind, but with the very breath moving in and out of your chest. I am closer to you than your own heartbeat. When you inhale, I am there. When you exhale, I am still there. There is not a single second when my eyes leave you. Not a single moment when you must endure anything alone. I know when your heart beats fast with fear, when it grows heavy with sorrow, when it softens because of a tiny glimmer of hope. I see every delicate shift within you. I am not observing you from afar. I enter the rhythm of your being like a father placing his ear on his child's chest to hear every vibration. In the very place where you think I am the farthest, that is where I am closest. You have grown used to blaming yourself, to thinking you must do better, to comparing yourself with others. But I do not come to add burdens. I come to remove the cords that have tied you for far too long. I do not require perfection for you to be loved. I love you, and that love itself will perfect you. You do not need to earn my approval. You only need to let me hold you. Every pressure you have carried the pressure to please, the pressure to meet expectations, the pressure to avoid mistakes. Let me take them down layer by layer. You were not created to satisfy the world. You were created to belong to me. And in my arms, you no longer have to strain for even a moment. There are times you come to me with an empty soul, unsure of what to say. You feel guilty, ungrateful, disconnected from what is sacred. But my child, I do not need words to understand you. I read what you have not sorted out yet. I hear what you have not spoken. I touch what you have not named. Sometimes you need only to sit still, and I will do the rest. Not every encounter needs words. Some encounters simply need a heart open enough for me to step into, and I will always step in, whether you speak or not. You often think miracles must be grand, sudden changes that others can witness with astonishment. But my child, most of the miracles I perform dwell in the small things you overlook. A day when you wake and feel just a little lighter, that is a miracle. A moment when your memory no longer hurts the way it used to, that is a miracle. A time you dare to say no without the fear of disappointing someone, that is a miracle. An evening when your heart feels at peace even though nothing outside has changed, that is a miracle. I do not only do miracles in storms, I do miracles in each falling drop of rain. Pay attention to the small things, because they are the signs that I am with you and that I am transforming you slowly, deeply, and truly. You often believe that your strength is what pleases me. But my child, it is in your weakness that heaven draws closest. When you burst into tears in the kitchen without knowing why, I stand beside you. When you sit silently on your bed feeling hollow, I lay my hand upon your invisible shoulder. When you try to do the right thing even though your heart trembles, I see you and I am proud. When you feel you have nothing left to offer, I say, then that is enough. I want you. I do not wait for you to be strong before I come. I come so that you may rise. I do not wait for you to be perfect before I love you. I love you. And my love raises you day by day. There are nights when you toss and turn and every fear rises at once, and you think I am silent, but you do not know that I sit beside your bed, placing my hand over your soul to keep it from breaking. There are days when you are so tired you do not want to pray, do not want to read scripture, do not want to hear anything at all, and yet I remain never accusing, never distant. I do not look at how frequently you pray. I look at the direction of your heart, even when you are too exhausted to do anything but breathe in your weariness. I count every breath and hold you so you do not fall. In the quiet no one else sees. I work the strongest. You have lived so long guided by fear, fear of being wrong, fear of being abandoned, fear of being judged, fear of being not enough, fear of being unloved. But I have come to change that entire rhythm. I lead you with love, not threats. I correct your steps with gentleness, not condemnation. I bring you back to the path I designed, not with commands, but with an affectionate call, my child. Come here. Fear makes the soul shrink, but love makes the soul expand. And I want you to live with a widened soul where you feel safe to be real, safe to be weak, safe to be strong, safe to be healed. When you walk by love, you walk in the right direction. When you let me lead, you cannot lose your way. My beloved child, I know there is a longing inside you, a great one. One a quiet, a persistent one. You want to see more clearly, hear more clearly, and feel more clearly what I am doing. And I want you to know that this longing did not come from your own effort. I planted it in your heart long ago. What you are asking for is exactly what I desire to give. There are spiritual realities that have surrounded you for years, but your eyes, tired, wounded, and anxious, have grown dim. Now I am wiping those eyes, gently, layer by layer, not so you can see what is beyond reach, but so you can see what has always been near. My presence is not as distant as you thought. My guidance is not as silent as you assumed. And when your eyes open, you will see I have never been gone, not for a single day. There are layers of sensitivity in you that close themselves because of old wounds, places that were once radiant but have dimmed over time. Disappointment and pain. I do not come to force you to open them. I open them with my own breath. When you grow quiet, when you sit still, when you stop running from yourself, My breath begins to flow into every place you believed had died. I awaken things as softly as a whisper rising from the ocean floor. I revive what you declared no longer. Spiritual sensitivity is not a skill, it is my life moving inside you, and I am restoring it. Layer by layer. You think the opening of spiritual eyes means seeing grand visions or hearing thunder in the unseen realm. But in truth, the opening of spiritual eyes begins with recognition, recognizing my presence in the small things, recognizing my hand in the subtle shifts, recognizing my protection in the closed doors you could not understand, recognizing my love in the tears you cried when no one was watching. When recognition returns, everything becomes alive again, like a wire reconnecting to its power source. You do not need to try to be spiritual. You only need to open your heart enough to see that I have been here from the beginning. And as soon as you recognize me, fear falls away like old dust that can no longer cling to you. I do not only want to open your eyes to see, I want to open your eyes to see rightly. Because there were seasons when you saw everything through fear, through crisis, through wounds, through the lens of failure. Your spiritual sight was veiled by the fog of the past. And now I breathe, and the fog dissolves. A new light is coming, gentle, warm, steady, like early morning sunlight. When your eyes adjust to this light, you will see what you have never seen before: the goodness I have placed around you, the protection covering you, and the path you once thought blurred, now appearing step by step. Not everyone wants clarity, because clarity requires facing things. But my child, I am giving you a kind of sight that does not frighten you, it frees you. Purity is not about being flawless. Purity is about no longer allowing past wounds to distort what you see. You will no longer see people through the lens of betrayal. You will no longer see the future through the lens of failure. You will no longer see yourself through the lens of condemnation. You will see everything through my light, and that light makes all things true. And when you see truly, you no longer have to guess, defend, or fear. You only need to follow what I make clear. The first thing that happens when the spiritual eyes open is this: the fear of losing control collapses. It can no longer imprison you. Fear of the future, it falls away. Fear of mistakes, it dissolves. Fear of the past returning, it loses its power. Fear of not being enough, it is unmasked and undone. Because when you see that I am standing right in front of you, fear has nowhere left to hide. I do not need to push it out. My presence alone makes darkness retreat. And when your eyes open, you will understand you were never fighting alone. You were never wandering. You were never abandoned. You are simply stepping into a truth that has been here all along. And now, as your heart softens and your sight brightens, I want to say this clearly: you are approaching the greatest encounter of your life. Not an overwhelming encounter, not a frightening one, not an encounter of judgment, but an encounter of transformation. I am drawing you into the center of this journey where you meet me, not through concepts, but through the real touch of the soul. When that moment comes, you will know instantly. You will feel my breath. You will recognize my voice. You will see my light standing right before you. And you will finally understand everything you have walked through: the pain, the exhaustion, the waiting, the tears. The hope was leading you to this very moment, where you see me more clearly than you ever have. May the Lord's words continually remind you to live each day in His faith and His love. Please click follow and turn on notifications so you won't miss any sacred and meaningful messages that He desires to speak into your life. May God bless you abundantly. Amen.